Welcome, dear Go partners. The beta of Umbraco 9 is out. It is huge news as it will be the foundation for the next many years, giving everybody an even better and faster Umbraco architecture being built on the latest Microsoft technologies. I'm Anders Sorensen, and for those of you that don't know me, I'm head of partner channels here at Umbraco. But much more interesting, with me today, I have Bjarke Berg, main architect and lead developer on this Umbraco Unicore project. He will give you a lot of info on this beta release, and there will be time for a question session at the end. Please use the Q&A button for this. And Bjarke, please introduce yourself and take it away.
Yeah, but you did the introduction very well. As you said, my name is Bjarke and I'm senior developer on the core team and lead for this migration to the latest Microsoft stack. So as Anders also said, the beta version of Umbraco 9 is out. We defined this as a feature complete CMS, so everything you can do in the latest Umbraco 8 is also available on Umbraco 9, but here you run on .NET 5 and ASP.NET Core, so the new web framework. We have a single point that is not cross-platform yet, even that the web stack is cross-platform, and that is Examine, but we expect that to be ready within a couple of weeks. So the main goal for this new Umbraco version was to update the backend technology. So instead of using .NET Framework, we aimed for the latest version of .NET Core, and this is now renamed to .NET 5. Also, we updated to the latest version of the web framework. So instead of ASP.NET, we're using ASP.NET Core, and the latest version currently is version 5. And to do this, we also had to update members and users and such stuff to latest technologies. So these are updated to ASP.NET Core identity. And of course, we have other areas that need to be updated. We started the project in the late 19, and in September last year, we shipped the first alpha release. This release was, in this release, we had the back office available, so you could actually see Umbraco running, but you couldn't still render anything to the front end. This became available in, I think it was February this year. And now, last week, we shipped the first beta release. We expect to continue shipping beta releases during the next month or two. And then we will reach a release candidate. And then we will have a period in release candidate mode just to ensure everything works. So next up are packages. So we ship the release candidate when the HQ packages are available. We are currently working on forms, which is close to be done. We are also working on deploy. It compiles, but still have a lot of to-dos. And we are almost done with the starter kit. But we also need all the community packages, because I guess 90% of all Umbraco solutions need packages to run. So if you have any packages, please start migrating these and let us help you. We will help with whatever we can. And it's super nice to already see that many packages are being worked on, and some of the very enterprise ones like Usync and so on. It's very nice. Yeah, as you can see, we already have packages available for 9, and Kevin Jump had the beta release of Usync out just an hour after the beta release of Umbraco was available. That is super nice, and thank you for that. But it's also important to start migrating or start new real projects. We hope that version 9.0 can be what version 8.1 was to version 8. So basically, we need you to test all the edge cases that you used to do, so we ensure these are fixed in the official release of version 9. And that is the reason we have such a long period of release candidate. So this was just a short introduction. Then I will go to a short demo also. So I think one thing that is interesting for most of you will be to see Umbraco running on the upcoming .NET 6 also, because .NET 5 is not a long-term support release from Microsoft. And Microsoft expect to ship .NET 6 in November this year. So I guess most solutions that are going live on Umbraco 9 will actually run on .NET 6. So of course, we are also ready on the latest preview releases. So first of all, I have cheated a bit. I have installed .NET in the latest preview version. To do this, you can just go to .NET and press download. Then you can find the all .NET downloads, and you will have version 6 here with the latest versions. Another thing I cheated with is I installed the Umbraco templates. And you can have a full guide in the blog post, release blog post. But as you can see here, Umbraco templates is installed in the version 9.00 beta 001. And it ships with 2 packages available. Next, I will use Visual Studio, but this feature is only in preview in Visual Studio, so I will just show you how to enable it. You can go to Options, and then Environment and Preview Features. Here you can click Show all .NET Core templates in the new project dialog, and use previews of .NET Core SDKs. If you not click the last one, it will only show what is available for .NET 5. So I already clicked these, then I can just create a new project. Here we have added templates, so you can see we have an Umbraco one here, or you can search for it on, and it's also available if you choose web or whatever. We have 2 templates available. The first one is only required if you want to create packages from Umbraco. Otherwise, it's just the Umbraco project you will need. Let's try to create such one. So you will have some options. The default one is .NET 5, but Visual Studio remember what you used last time. So this is the reason it was pre-selected on version 6 with my computer. Then we have a couple of optional input fields. If you want to use SQL Compact Edition, this is only available on Windows and so on. I'll just install it right away, and then we wait for Visual Studio. So now we have an empty solution when Visual Studio is ready. Yep, I can try to build it. And then you'll see a new folder appear over here. Yeah, so basically it copies files from the static assets from Umbraco. So, or the JavaScript files and stuff like that is here. And now I'm ready to run. And now it's ready to install. Basically what you know from Umbraco 8 also. Just a simple password. And I prepared a database. Now it sets up the database, and now we have one of the known issues, which is about restart. So every time you install Umbraco, you will need to restart. And we can't do that programmatically right now. You will need a reverse proxy in front or something like that, like IIS or NGINX or whatever you want to use. But here I can just start it up manually. While we're waiting, we can look here. So basically, if I edit the project file, you can see that it's running .NET 6, and the only dependency here is Umbraco CMS. So here we have Umbraco as we know it, running .NET 6. I can log in, and yeah, everything is like, as you can see, we already have one package available, which is super nice. Next thing, one thing to notice is that this is possible because the new web framework is basically just NuGet dependencies. So it's not tightly coupled to the .NET framework version anymore. So we also expect that in upcoming versions of Umbraco, it will be fairly easy for us to update to the latest versions of the web framework, because Microsoft has most of their energy into a new project called Blazor, and the MVC parts of the web framework is pretty stable. But one thing I guess most professional websites are doing is to change the default mode of Models Builder. So I'll try to do that. So instead of running in pure live, I will change it to app data. And here I can go mouse mode. Oops. And that should be it. So basically now I'm running app data. So instead of having all the models in memory, we can now generate models that will be generated in the code, and we can add them to the solution. I'll just create a simple doc type. I can go to the models builder and generate the models. Now they're not out of date anymore. So the models are generated here. So I need to ensure these are added to the project. And another thing that is very cool, if you go to the project file and edit the project file, we have this. You can set it to true. If you're not using pure live, this basically means you have pre-compiled views. There are lots of benefits. First of all, you ensure you don't have any errors on runtime because your views are compiled while you compile your solution, and it also has faster load times. So I'll do that. And let's see if I can boot again. Yeah, we already have a template. So here now my IDE recognizes this model. So I have IntelliSense and I can find my property here. So this is just another short example. One of the things that are changed a bit in the new version is all the static events. So instead of using static events, we are using a pattern called notifications. To use these, I can add a notification handler. And you can add both async and sync handlers. So of course, if you are doing something that can be done async, you should use the async one, like writing to the file system or whatever. In this case, I will just use this one, and I can execute my handler on a specific notification, say Umbraco application. We will try to make it easier to discover all of these extensions. So this is here. Oh. And I can then I have to implement an interface notification handler. Same event here. Then I can ask my IDE to implement it. And here I can do whatever code I want to do. This is a one-time event, so it's only executed when Umbraco boots. But this is an example of some of the new patterns. And I know Warren just shipped a good video that is shared on YouTube that shows an example of how to migrate from V8 to .NET or to Umbraco 9 regarding these events. So that was my demos for you. And then I hope you have some questions.
Well, thank you, Bjarke. And I must just say a live demo without any issues. How did you do that, Bjarke? I mean, there was one, but that was a known issue.
Yeah, I guess it's pure luck.
Well, thank you for that. So one thing I would like to start with a question for you, Bjarke. You mentioned help and contributing partners. If we have any on the webinar here today that would like to get involved and test, how could they contribute? How could they help testing?
So basically, try to implement some of the complex things you have done in earlier versions of Umbraco. We really want to test the edge cases because the main use cases are tested fairly good. But of course, edge cases is important to test. So if you just try to migrate, maybe even your own website or some of your custom solutions, then you will have an idea of how much effort you need to put into it and everything. So we have a couple of things that are changed, but the feedback so far has been it is easier than expected and feared, of course. But it's the same patterns you just have to repeat over and over again, like updating namespaces, updating the events, and so on.
All right. Yep, I think Anthony have a question about benchmarking. I know we did some testing long ago. Have you any numbers on the different performance from the V8 to V9?
No, we don't have any numbers yet, but we are working on the numbers, and hopefully we can share some nice numbers for CodeGarden. We only have the how it feels factor. and the feedback on that is it's very fast. Of course, it is just changes to the C# parts. So this is going to be very fast, but every time we have to communicate with the database and so on, we haven't changed the queries at all. We try to make it as easy as possible to migrate, because the changes in the Microsoft Web Framework is pretty massive. So we didn't want to introduce a lot of breaking changes in the Umbraco parts also.
Yep. Okay. I just posted both a link to the blog post in the chat that Bjarke talked about, and also a link to our YouTube channels. There's several on V9 latest releases. I can see that it's also at the end of that link. So just out of curiosity, I would like to know how many in the audience have downloaded the beta version as it is right now. Please write in the chat if you have. Maybe it should have been the other way around, Bjarke, that we should have asked how many have not downloaded. And maybe, oh, not a lot. Any more questions to Bjarke? So Bjarke, you also mentioned at the beginning that if anybody had some question or needed some support by migrating packages to the 9 version, how do they get a hold of you, or who do they contact?
Yeah, me or Philip. So I know Philip have reached out to a lot of the package developers, at least the package developers with the most downloaded packages, and we have set up a couple of one-to-one meetings, me and the package authors and so on. And we also have introduced some learner funds, the first one tonight. And I think it's all Wednesdays in this month. And we will try to start building a site on Umbraco 9 together, and I will be there to answer questions, and I will also try to migrate one of my own. So it's more just to get the hands dirty on the code instead of just talking about it all the time.
Yeah. All right. Any more questions?
I can see there's a question in the chat about how the upgrade path looks. So in V7 to V8, there were a lot of content changes and the data structure changed. This is not the case this time. So basically you can take the database you had from your V8, take a backup and use that for an V9 side, but you will have to re-implement all your custom code, and you will need all the packages you used to have migrated to. But if all the packages is available, then it's just your own code. And the general patterns are namespaces need to be changed. You need to inject your dependencies instead of using the current, which is a service locator. And the new framework, the new web framework has dependency injection as a first citizen. So it's easy to inject in views and in filters and everywhere where it was impossible in the old framework.
All right. There's a couple of questions in the Q&A. Bjarke, have you that open so you can see them?
Yep. So there's Anthony says, I'm not tried out 9 yet, so it might be obvious once we get started, but other than updating namespaces using the new DI events, what other common changes are expected? It's a hard answer or hard question to answer. If you used members and did some custom things, you need to be aware that we have migrated members from membership providers into ASP.NET Core Identity. We also did that for users, but users were already implemented in ASP.NET Identity, so the changes here is not that big. It's still the Umbraco you know, so if you use surface controllers, these are still available. So in the web framework, you will need to follow the new patterns in general. So instead of returning an HTTP response message, you will return an action result of some kind. But these are, again, the same patterns you will repeat over and over again, and not some complex things for every, not a new thing every time you find something to migrate. Okay. Hopefully that was an answer.
So Jason is asking about the third-party core packages, examine, image processor, etc.
So as I said, examine is not ready yet. So basically we divided examine in two packages. So we have the abstractions, which is ready, and then the Lucene implementation, which is currently Windows only. But as I said, within a couple of weeks, I expect that we have an examine version that runs on the latest Lucene, which is cross-platform support. So image processor is not working on .NET Core or .NET 5. So instead we replaced this dependency with another dependency made by the same person behind, Game South, which is named image sharp. So basically, Umbraco don't know anything about image manipulations. All we know about is generating URLs, and then image processor, or in this case, image sharp, picks up these URLs, manipulate the image, and return it. And this is the same case with Umbraco 9. We also replaced client dependency, because that is also a project that is not compatible with .NET 5 or .NET Core in general. This is now replaced by a project called Smidge, which is like client dependency is also created by Shannon from Umbraco HQ, and it's built with Umbraco in mind. So that was a perfect fit for our needs. We have one. You mentioned members changing to identity. Will database migration be required for existing members with custom properties, or is it just the code for working with the members? Yeah, so the database is unchanged, basically. We add some new fields on the members, but this is minor migrations, like between version 8 minors. We migrate the passwords to the latest recommendation for hashing algorithms, but we can't do that before the member logs in. And we added a security stamp. So if every time some properties on the member is changed, we update this security stamp. But otherwise, it should work.
Carlos is asking when it's available in cloud, Umbraco Cloud.
We aim for at the time of release, so end of August is our current goal.
Yep, and then just keep it up to date with the release cycles of Unicore.
Yeah.
If you need to upgrade a V7 this summer, would you go with V8 or would you already go with V9?
It depends on when it has to be live. So basically, if the go live date is in Q4 this year, I would go with 9. So
this summer would probably be, if it's summertime, it would be V8.
If the go live, but if the implementation time is then I guess I would go with 9.
Okay. Would the Umbraco training include bridging courses from V8 to V9? And Bjarke, please help me out here, but the actual Umbraco will be pretty much the same.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I'm not sure. It's not all courses that make sense to make bridging.
No, but we will find out what bridging is needed, and then if you are buying courses right now, you will have the bridging free.
Of course.
But we need to figure out what makes sense and what courses is unchanged, basically.
Yeah.
and we expect to ship a blog post later this month.
Yes. All right. Any more questions? Doesn't seem like it. Well, I guess I hope that you are just as excited as we are for this. Bjarke has been really working hard on this project, so we would also very much like your help testing, as Bjarke mentioned. Keep an eye out for blog posts with further information. Take it for a spin and reach out to Bjarke or anyone here from HQ if you have questions or something like that. Bjarke, any final remarks?
No, but it looks like Daniel is trying to write something.
Oh yeah. Upgrading an Azure solution with CDN blob storage and the works. Will I have any issues, problems?
Oh, I don't think so. So as long as the CDN blob storage provider is also updated, I don't know if you're using the open source, I guess. So there's an open source package for that, and it just needs to be updated. So it's the same story with all the packages you use. As soon as they are updated, it should work.
All right. Cool. Well, thank you all for participating. Hope to see you again. We will do more of these going forward.
Yep.
Have a really nice day.